Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to my channel. This is Dr. Danny, physician astrologer. Today, we are going to talk about the astrology of the coming full moon in October, October 6th of 2025. This full moon, I entitled the Enjoy the Show Moon, because basically what we are looking at with the energy that is displayed in the sky is a pull towards those things that have fascinated us, enthralled us, excited us, bring us back into our old patterns. So we're going to see things during this lunation that are going to pull us back to the things that we're comfortable with. And we are encouraged with the astrology energy to pull back, to ground to the opposite side of the sky where Pisces is. So what I want to do is go through the energy in general. We'll just go through all of the aspects. Then I'm going to take you rising sign by rising sign through the reading for this full moon. You all responded so nicely to the last lunation when I offered this for you. It seemed to resonate more accurately with you. And I think it's because when we know our rising sign, then I know where everything is for you and I can read it that way. So, what you'll do is listen through the beginning part where we talk about the moon's energy in general. Then I will show you how to find your rising sign using constellational astrology. So, you will actually find the constellation that was rising on the eastern horizon the day you were born, not the sign, but the actual constellation. So, I'll show you how to do that. And then we will go into each rising sign one by one, and there will be timestamps below. So, announcements are mixed in through this presentation. I don't have a ton of announcements. I will in the next couple of weeks, but right now we are just holding steady. So, let's get into it. I'll share my screen and we will talk about this. Okay, friends, we are outside on the night of the full moon. This is October 6th of 2025. And you can see right here on the eastern horizon, as the moon is rising, that it is right here in the constellation of Pisces. Now, this might sound foreign to those of you that study tropical astrology or have only studied tropical astrology, because tropical astrology does not use the actual sky. This is also not a Vedic interpretation, because while Vedic does interpret the constellations kind of in the right space, they don't account for the large sizes of the constellations, nor do they include Ophiuchus in their assessment. So, what's nice about doing constellational astrology is we can bring together all of the disciplines, Western and Vedic, and read what Pisces might feel like for a full moon for October 6th of 2025. Just to orient you to the rest of the sky, we have to zoom in a little, but we can still see Saturn and Neptune conjunct here at the very early degrees of Pisces, around 9 and 12 degrees. Our north node is right here, just at the very beginning of Aquarius. And as we move around the zodiac, let's find Pluto, because this is a big one. A lot of times people think that Pluto is in a completely different constellation, when if we look at the science and the astronomy, we can see it right here. It has just left Sagittarius. It is literally sitting at 0 degrees of Capricorn and will not enter the constellation of Aquarius until 2040. Same thing with Neptune, guys. Neptune will not enter the constellation of Aries until 2040. So if we look at our sky, we do not see Saturn and Neptune and the moon right here. This is not happening in Aries. All of this energy is still Pisces. But that's okay. Don't roll your eyes right away, because if we are actually tapping into the energy of the constellations rather than the energy of a contrived calendar system, like it's September or it's October or it's Libra season, which it isn't. We're going to show you the sun in just a second. We are going with what's actually happening right here. And this is the as above, which is why it's so important that we return our gaze to the sky. Now, let me just go back a few hours, because I want to show you the other side of the sky where the sun and Venus and Mercury and Mars are all located. So this is the sky right here. We have a pile up here in Virgo, don't we? Tomorrow, Venus, or on the 8th, Venus will enter into the stars of Virgo. The sun is still right in the middle of Virgo. It will not enter the stars of Libra until November 5th. That's right. The entire month of October is spent in Virgo for the sun and does not enter Virgo until the 16th of September. So from the 16th of September all the way to November 4th or 5th is the sun's transit through Virgo. We also have Mars in a few days entering into the stars of Libra. Mercury is right here about to make its maximum eastern elongation, and those are all the planets. We also have Comet 3I Atlas right here in between Mars and Mercury during this full moon energy. We can no longer see the comet from earthbound telescopes. Any observations of 3I Atlas must be made from Mars or from other craft that are on the other side of the sun. I will show you the True Sky Live so we can actually see where the comet is now that we've seen this. Okay, so here is the Sky Live. And what I want to do is just minimize what we can see here. I'm going to take out the Swan and the K1 Atlas and the Lemon Comet. And we're just going to look at 3I Atlas at the moment. And we can see it right here. Now, what I want to do with this program, theskylive.com, is go to this menu and click on Star Maps. Now, I have to locate 3I Atlas, so I'll do that real quick. We'll do 3I Atlas. There's the comet. And now we can see it. So this is exactly what we were just looking at in Stellarium. Here's the sun, here's Mercury, and here's the comet. Let's advance the date as well so that we can get to the date of the full moon. Here we go. So here you see 3I Atlas between Mars and Mercury in the constellation of Virgo. Okay, so I'm not making this up. This is our actual sky, and this is how I like to read astrology. I have found that this kind of astrology actually helps you if you want to live a soul guided path, if you want to find your truest purpose while you're here. Looking at the true as above is one of the best ways to do that. So I'm happy to share this with you. Let's go ahead and get into the presentation where we will discuss the aspects and the energies we might be looking at. I think some of you are old enough to remember the movie, The Ring, that came out. It was a horror movie. And basically there was this cursed videotape that if you played it, your phone would ring and you'd get all these, nightmarish visions and things like that. And at the end, the ghost crawled out of the television. And it came to me because when I was thinking about the energies for this moon, I was like, wow, this just feels like we're going to be pulled in a direction that might be fun to sort of look at and go back into in terms of patterns. But for the most part, it really isn't good for our higher purpose and our higher destiny. And so my general advice for everyone during this full moon is to enjoy the show. Understand that what you're seeing, what's causing you to react to things is literally a show. And so enjoy it. Don't be scared. Don't be freaked out. Laugh if you have to. But once we get through this moon, you will see what I mean. So let's get into this. Let's look at the actual energy. First, I want to thank all the channel members for joining this channel. I really appreciate you stepping up and supporting the work that I'm doing. We do research here. We meet once a month and we talk about the coming energies. We talk about any questions you guys have. And so I just wanted to thank you once again for joining the channel and supporting the work that I'm doing. You guys are wonderful and we have such an incredible community. So I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Here's the general astrology read. So here's the chart that represents the sky that we were just looking at. So when we were looking at the sky and we looked at Virgo up from the ground, this is the Virgo that's represented right here. We see Mars, Mercury, and the comet together. We see the sun in the middle of Virgo. We saw Venus about to enter Virgo. And that's what we saw, right? Then when we looked on the other side of the sky, we saw the full moon. We saw Neptune and Saturn on the earlier portion of Pisces. We saw Uranus in Taurus. We see Jupiter in Gemini. This is what we actually see when we look up. And the reason that we care about these constellations is because this is where everybody moves. This is where the planets are always visible on the band of constellations that surround us here in the center of the earth. So your perspective is actually right here. You're standing right here in the middle and looking up, and this is your sky. So this is a two-dimensional slice of that three-dimensional stellosphere that we were just looking at. So we have sun opposed moon, and this sun opposed moon energy, this full moon energy, is not in aspect to anything else. So the sun is not making any other aspects to any other bodies, and neither is the moon. This is pretty unusual to have an unaspected sun moon opposition for the full moon. So what this means is that there's the polarity is stripped bare. You have a Virgo sun that insists on refinement, analysis, and embodied service, while you have a Pisces moon calling for surrender, compassion, and merging with the unseen. So the simplicity of this aspect sharpens the lesson. Both are necessary, but neither can dominate. That's what you do with an opposition. You balance the two polarities. So how might this manifest? Well, if you were really vibing into sun energy and you overground, Virgo's going to overcome you with that need to fix, that need to perfect. You become rigid, you become drained, you become cut off from the soul's flow. However, if you do the complete opposite and completely dissolve into Pisces longing to escape, then you risk losing the form, the focus, and the ability to serve. So the balance is what opens the way. Virgo clarifies, Pisces softens. Virgo names the wound, and Pisces heals it with compassion. Together, they make this lunation an initiation into wholeness. So this moon will not let you hide in distraction. It's a mirror. It's clean. It's unfiltered. It's unaspected. You are being asked to hold clarity in one hand and surrender in the other, to enjoy the spectacle without being consumed by it, and to keep your finger on the collective pulse. So that's the teaching of the luminaries as they face each other across the sky. And that's it. So my job's done. This is the end of the video. Just kidding. Keep going, because when we're looking at just the full moon, we also want to consider the moon's lunar nodes and then everything that's being aspected to the lunar nodes as well. Everything is connecting to the lunar nodes with the exception of the sun and moon. So the lesson is distilled here, right? We balance between the physical and the spiritual. So don't overground and don't dissolve. Now, as we move into the lunar nodes, this is where it gets interesting. So here we have the North Node that is conjunct to Saturn, and then we have Neptune that's conjunct to Saturn. And then opposite in the sky, we have Venus conjunct the South Node. Now, the South Node and the North Node are not bodies in the sky. They are calculated points where the moon's orbit crosses the sun's orbit from our perspective on Earth. So whenever the sun crosses one of these two nodes, that lunar cycle is the eclipse cycle, which is why we said that last month was a lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse. So now we are just past the eclipse. You can see the sun has just passed the lunar nodes, but the lunar nodes still hold karmic and destiny energy, where the South Node is the tail of the snake and the North Node is the head of the snake. Sometimes we call this one Ketu and this one Rahu. Ketu's chill. It's really kind of accomplished everything that Leo needs to understand. So there isn't really a striving or an energy here for you to do anything. You already know how to express, enjoy, and then you've got Venus here next to the South Node. The North Node is your purpose. It's your drive. Like Rahu just wants to do this thing and wants to do it through Aquarian energy, which is collective. It's new age. It's inspirations, it's groups of people. So it's what's good for the collective. And Saturn, very close to this North Node, suggests themes of authoritarian energy. So somebody trying to tell you what to do for the good of the collective, and you saying, yes, I will do this for the good of the collective, while opposing that sort of individual, sort of I am energy of Leo, ruled by the sun. And Aquarius is ruled by Saturn, traditionally, or Uranus, if you want to use the modern rulerships. But here we have this dichotomy here. And so Venus is going to tug you back towards familiar ground, like the need for approval, the urge to perform love, the glitter and the glamour of recognition. These patterns are going to feel comfortable, even glamorous, like a well-rehearsed play. You might find yourself drawn into old stories of affection and creative drama. These are enticing, but they're not your future. This North Node is really where we need to go as a collective energy. So this is, if you look at this whole energy here, this is going to be a kite, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more, but think of the North Node as your string of the kite, the thing that you hold in your hand that's concrete, even though it's very Aquarian and it's sort of on the spiritual side of the chart. If you can somehow imagine yourself holding a spiritual kite in your hand and watching, observing the kite fly through the sky, enjoy the freedom of the wind, the joy of just being in the air and flying. This is very similar to what this energy will be. So together, they show that we have a destiny not found in applause, but in building a future that serves the collective, weaving dream and discipline into shared purpose. So you can enjoy the warmth of the old Venusian stage lights, but your soul will be asking you to orient forward towards your community, towards your responsibility, and towards the vision of a world that extends beyond yourself. So the show belongs to the past. You're going to be brought into it with this energy. It's going to feel like you really need to be drawn back in, but make sure you look back at your hand into what you're actually holding. And that's really the axis of choice, the personal spotlight or the collective destiny. And I feel like if we stay anchored here into this point of this kite, it will be better for us in the long term, even though we are sort of tempted into the spotlight and the fun and the joy. Now, this kite also makes a grand trine, or these nodes also make a grand trine kite aspect, which just sort of leads us into the next part of our discussion. So the nodal axis, again, that we've already covered, is the great teacher in this lunation. So Venus sitting here, pulling you back into the familiar scripts of love, creativity, and recognition. You may even feel echoes of past dramas, like depending on where this falls in your own natal chart. So in this particular chart, it's in the 5th house. But if it's in the 2nd house, it's going to have a little bit of a different flavor, but still the same idea. The need to be adored or the urge to perform yourself into significance. So these themes are going to play out like a show on the stage of memory. Bright lights, applause, ego stories that once defined you. They're going to be alluring. They're going to be enjoyable. But again, try to look down and see what it is you're actually trying to do and what you're holding space for. Because the future lies in stepping into that collective vision responsibly with a shared purpose. Like, what are we bringing in the new earth together, or are we going to fall back into those old patterns? So Saturn's going to ground the work with discipline and structure, reminding us that the future requires effort and accountability. And then Neptune's going to infuse the dream with imagination, compassion, and the longing for unity. Together, this kite weaves a call to participate in a world that is freer, more inclusive, and more attuned to spirit. So we have in this grand kite, we've got Black Moon Lilith on one side in Libra, and then Jupiter in Gemini. Jupiter in Gemini is expanding mental faculties, expanding the way that you think, allowing spirit to enter the thoughts of creativity and knowledge. It's a great time to learn something new, to expand your horizons in terms of knowledge, truth, and programming. There could be a potential here too to fall back into your subliminal programming. This kite really, really wants you to, quote unquote, enjoy the show. Now, if that were just Jupiter by itself, that's great. But we have a trine to Black Moon Lilith. And so secrets, things that were banished, things that were hidden, things that were not allowed to come into the light, feel like you can't help it. Because this is an aspect that's with us for a while. It's been with us all last month and will continue into a little bit of October. So we've been in this. It's where really amazing and expansive truths just come out into the open and everyone's jaws hitting the floor and they're like, holy smokes, I heard about this, but I had no idea that this was actually true. So that's what we're dealing with here. And then, of course, Black Moon Lilith sextiles Venus and Jupiter sextiles Venus. So a lot of expansion, a lot of pulling towards the old ways. It will feel easy. It will feel fun. But we really need to stay here grounded in the spiritual energies where this and responsibility and collective vision. So this is the kites reading. Future vision community, shared responsibility, the show, old scripts of love and recognition, and then Jupiter and BML or Black Moon Lilith, giving the past a seductive lift. So the lesson is to enjoy the flight, but not confuse this direction with destiny. This full moon might actually feel pretty good, but we have to be very careful to stay focused on what it is we're doing as a collective. So another energy that's very nice that's been around for a while with us is this basket or this trine between Pluto and Uranus with a sextile to Neptune, also sextiling back to Pluto. This is a very supportive energy. These are all the outer planets with the exception of Jupiter. In a very nice aspect that feels supportive. It feels like all the elders, all the OGs are standing at the edges of our solar system, bringing us support. Uranus in Taurus, in a flowing trine with Pluto in Capricorn, together reshaping the very foundations of matter, resources, and power structures. And we feel this, don't we? We feel like things are being shifted around. Like who actually does have control of things? We do. And that's what they're showing us. So, what might have felt once immovable is now opening to reform, but in ways that have roots, depth, and staying power. These sextiles extending into Saturn and Neptune energy weaves the dream world into the real world. Saturn's demanding discipline and Neptune's dissolving illusion, and the link with Uranus and Pluto grounds this mystical energy into the material. It's a call to take the whispers of spirit and anchor them into lasting form. So, this right here, guys, is not an overnight energy. This has been with us for a while. We're still feeling this, similar to the Grand Trine with the nodes and Black Moon, Lilith, and Jupiter. So, we have this energy that's sitting with us through this lunation, but the pull is really towards this fun energy that is, in my opinion, fun to enjoy and watch, but don't get too wrapped up in it, because this is the reckoning right here, the string or the beginning of the kite. All right, so the next thing is the square energy. So we can't go through this lunation without having a few challenges. And this is really interesting because we have a quick transit where Mercury opposes Chiron. So it's the mental energy opposing our wounds and our greatness and our ability to do magic. Then we have an opposition that is not aspected yet between Pluto and Jupiter. Jupiter will be moving more into this space in the coming days. And then we have a square between them. So it's not aspected yet, but during this lunation, it's going to ripen, especially after the full moon. So it's a good idea to analyze this structure. What happens when you have this starting to build like this is you end up with a mystic square. So I've put that out for you. This is the top of a pyramid. This is a faith and expansion, face power and control, right? So there's your faith and expansion. Pluto is power and control. Words and analysis confront words and healing. So how do we take, the words and analysis with power and control? And this can actually force breakthroughs. So you have the mind, the wound, and the power and the meaning of it all in one crucible. So truth must be spoken even when it cuts, for only then can healing and transformation take root. So excellent advice. This is one of those energies where, again, Mercury is going to activate it with a quick transit, but otherwise, Chiron is T-squaring Pluto and Jupiter, that opposition, that between power and faith and the wound and our greatness. And Mercury is going to give a voice to that very temporarily for the few days around this full moon. So speaking truth in a powerful way to expand your faith and spirituality and healing. But the words have to be spoken. That, I think, is the catalyst. That, I think, is the challenge. And because we already have Black Moon, Lilith, and Jupiter already doing that with our North Node, sort of exposing what has been banished and expanding truth and knowledge around it, if that isn't already happening within you, something with Mercury is going to trigger this, which will feel very similar to this. So I'm not saying it's going to be fun, but I'm saying it's going to be very illuminating around this moon. This could come out in the public. This could be some kind of crazy viral news story. It really just depends on how it manifests. And we'll look at, like I said, when we look at your rising signs, we will touch into all of this. So how this manifests personally for you should be clear. Okay, then we have Mars. Mars all by himself, well, conjunct Mercury and very close to the comet. So let's read what this feels like. Now, whenever a planet is in isolation like this, you can get, but it can also feel untethered too. So if there isn't something to compare Mars to in this space, Mars will be free to kind of show up how he naturally does. So raw, restless, and untethered. Mars wants to perfect systems, improve routines, and fix what's broken in Virgo. But he doesn't have any aspects to guide him at the moment other than that comet. So the risk is there can be scatter, there can be burnout, overground in details, push too hard without direction. So there needs to be an awareness here, not a compulsion. If you feel compelled, obsessively compelled to do something, this is Mars untethered in Virgo. Now, I think the comet has a lot to do with what's going on right now. A lot of the revelations. Comets are sort of wild cards in astrology, where we don't know what they do. We can't predict when they'll show up. We just notice that they're there and then we read them. This one in particular, Comet 3i Atlas, is moving along our ecliptic plane along the same level as all the other planets. And so it's worth analyzing through the lens of Virgo. And I've done several videos on that. If you want to look at the astrology for the comet, in a broader aspect, I did link to the video below where I talked about what this whole picture of the comet moving through Virgo into Leo and out of our solar system, what it looks like and what it might mean for us on a collective level. As we go through the individual rising signs, you'll be able to see exactly where the comet is in your house system. So you should be able to elucidate for yourself what that might mean for you or what it's opening up for you in your life. So this presence changes everything. Mars becomes an antenna, channeling not just earthly impulses, but messages from beyond our solar system. This conjunction suggests that interruptions, irritations, or disruptions in your routines are not random. They are signals reminding you that what you do is part of a larger cosmic choreography. So the energy of elsewhere filters into the small tasks of daily life, turning the ordinary into a messenger of the extraordinary. And I feel like this is like a cosmic impregnation of new DNA, new codes, a new complete way to see Virgo energy. Mars is the warrior. Here, he's kind of confused about where to strike. And I think the comet is teaching Mars to listen rather than to charge forward. So pay attention to the unusual, the interruptions, the seemingly small irritations in your daily life and schedules. And they may carry the wisdom of not your own making, but the clues that you need from outside the solar system that may be coming into your life. So if you align your daily actions with this cosmic pulse, Mars becomes less of a scattered force and more of a channeled message from beyond Earth. So that's a lot. That's heady. Before we get into the individual rising signs, I would like to just give you guys a little heads up on ways to connect with me and this channel and the community and the work that we're doing. So free support, free things you can do for this channel and for the work we're doing here. You can just like the video. There's a new function out there called hyping. You can hype all the videos. You only get 3 a week. So be careful how you give those out. You can give all 3 to me though. I wouldn't mind. So that's a new feature on YouTube in some places. Please do that. If you're not subscribed already, go ahead and click the subscribe button and the notify button so that anytime I drop a video, you get notified and you can watch it immediately or put it on your watch list. And then share this video. If you find this helpful or useful, or my previous videos in the past have helped you, share this video. There's no harm in doing that. And then, of course, if you're on Facebook, you can join our community group, the Fellowship of 13 Signs. It's a private group. A lot of folks posting over there, a very active community. If you want to get even deeper with us, but maybe you're not sure if you want a class or a reading yet, join the channel. It's only $4.99 a month. You can cancel anytime. You can also gift memberships during our live streams. And that contributes quite a bit to our collective journey to understand this kind of astrology. We meet once a month right before the new moon, on or around the new moon, to talk about coming energy, to talk about things that are coming up, to discuss your personal chart if you have questions. You can always get a reading with me. Links are below. You can always take a course to learn more about constellational astrology. And if you want the full download on Ophiuchus, please buy my book, The 13th Sign, Ophiuchus, and the Astrology They Don't Want You to See. Isn't that cool? It's slide 13. All right, so that's how you can connect with us. Let me show you how to find your rising sign. If you're not sure how to do that, you'll want to go ahead and get a birth chart calculated using the actual sky. So you can do one of 2 things or both. but you need to know your birth time. You will not be able to participate in this rising sign unless you know what your rising sign is. And you find that out by knowing your birth time. So if you do know your birth time, you can go into the website I just showed you, stellarium-web.org, and you can change the date and time to your birthday day and time. And then you just look in the eastern sky where the E is, and you can see what chart is rising. In fact, let me just pause this for a second and take you back to the sky, and I'll show you what that looks like. So here we're back on stellarium-web.org, and I have the time and date here that I can manipulate, and I'm looking at the eastern skies. You see the E right here? That significates where your rising sign is. So watch this. As I switch through the hours, you can see how the rising sign changes. So if you don't have the right time, you're not going to get the right rising sign. You don't have to worry about location. As long as your computer knows where you are, it will be correct. So right here, we would call this, if this was the person's birth date and time, we would say they have Gemini Rising. And so if you're a Gemini Rising, you would click on the link below or the timestamp below in order to look at your rising sign energy for this full moon. All right. So you can do that. You can also go to drdanny.com/free chart. I have a calculator on there that I do not need your email for you to access. It's provided by masteringthezodiac.com. Put in your details, and then you want to look on the chart on the left side of the chart for the ascendant symbol, and that will be the marker of your ascendant sign. So let's go back a second. When we look at this chart right here, when you see AS, that's your ascendant. So for this person, Aries would be their rising sign, okay? So super simple. All right. Now, just so you know, if you are a tropical person and you're just trying out this kind of astrology, your rising sign and therefore your chart ruler may change if you practice this. And that's okay. It might actually resonate for you a lot more. All right. Very good. I say we get into this because here's where it really matters for you as individuals. So we'll start with Virgo rising. Okay, Virgo, like I said, you may have this this is a large constellation, and so your ascendant degree may be anywhere along this olive green box, but for simplicity's sake, I just chose right about here. And what this gives you is Sun, Comet, and Mercury in your first, Mars and Black Moon Lilith in your second, Pluto in your fourth house, Neptune, North Node, and Saturn in your sixth house, Moon and Chiron in your seventh house, Uranus in your eighth house, about to move into your ninth house, Jupiter in your 10th house, and Venus and South Node in your 12th house. Okay, so let's read this for you guys. This is what your Eastern horizon may look like with the Virgo standing straight up and down. And here are the basic bullet points as I read for you this energy. Okay, Virgo, this full moon shines across your first and seventh houses. The Sun, Mercury, and Comet are highlighting your identity, your voice, and your presence, while the Moon and Chiron light up the area of relationships, allies, and contracts. The polarity is clean. You might feel pulled. This is the kite we were talking about earlier. You're going to feel pulled between your own needs and the demands of others. This is the kite right here for you, Virgo. Let's draw this out. Here's your kite, Virgo, right here. Okay. So you're going to feel this pull. The teaching is balance, right? Don't overground in self-analysis or self-improvement and all of this sixth house stuff. Don't dissolve completely into the needs of others either. When you hold both your clarity and your vulnerability, the show becomes illuminating rather than draining. Venus with the South Node here brings old patterns from the hidden realm. You may notice nostalgia that you have for private loves, behind the scenes dynamics, escaping. And they may replay on your screen over and over, tempting you, being familiar to you, even haunting you, but they're not your path forward. The North Node with Saturn and Neptune in your sixth house is the string in your hand. Growth comes from refining your routines, serving with integrity, and committing to the daily practice that supports your body and soul. This is where your purpose anchors, even if the show behind the curtain tries to distract you. Pluto in your fourth house will continue to shape your foundations, family, home, ancestry, pulling up roots so that you can plant something new. Mars and Black Moon Lilith in your second house stir raw energy around money, possessions, and self worth. So, this is demanding honesty about what truly supports you. Uranus in your eighth house electrifies intimacy, shared resources, while Jupiter in the 10th expands career, vision, and public calling. So, the deeper lesson for you, Virgo, is enjoy the show of old hidden patterns if they arise, but keep your finger on the pulse of your daily service and community. If you hold the string of discipline and integrity, this full moon lifts you into clearer and more authentic purpose. Balance self with relationships. Old habits or hidden patterns resurface. Notice but don't regress. Health and daily routines are the true path forward. Home and family undergo deep change. Career vision is expanding, and keep your eye on the bigger picture. So enjoy the show, Virgo. Also, by the way, Virgos, if your ascendant degree is close to Libra, then you may want to listen to the next reading we do on Libra Rising. Okay, Libra Rising or late Virgo. If you have Virgo Rising and your ascendant degree is right over here near Mercury or Mars, this reading may resonate for you as well, because you have Mars and Black Moon Lilith in your first house. You have Pluto in your third house. You have North Node, Saturn, and Neptune in your fifth house over here. You have Moon and Chiron in your sixth house. And you have Uranus in your seventh, Jupiter in your ninth house, Venus and South Node in your 11th house, and Sun, Comet, and Mercury in your 12th house. So for you, Libra Rising, this full moon stretches across the axis of the 6th and the 12th house. The Sun, Mercury, and the Comet in your 12th house highlight solitude, spiritual retreat, and the hidden corners of your mind. While the Moon with Chiron in your 6th house illuminates health, service, and daily responsibilities. The polarity is stark. You might feel the pull between withdrawing completely and keeping up with the demands of your everyday life. The lesson is balance. Give yourself the gift of retreat, but also honor the commitments that tether you to the world. When you keep both, the show of this lunation becomes illuminating rather than overwhelming. So for you guys, you hold the string of the kite here in your 5th house, and you're going to be pulled into 11th house matters. Okay. So this is the string of your kite, and over here is where you're going to be pulled away. So stories about friendships, groups, collective dreams. You might notice familiar dramas replaying in your community or social circles. They might feel nostalgic, tempting even, but they're not where your destiny lies. The North Node with Saturn and Neptune in your 5th house is the string in your hand. Growth comes from creativity, from joy, and authentic self-expression. So allow yourself to play, to create, and to bring beauty into form. This is how you stay tethered to your true path, even while the show of old social dynamics plays out. Now, Mars and Black Moon Lilith in your first house are going to make you feel raw and visible, stirring an urgency in how you show up in the world. Pluto in your third house continues to transform your communication, bringing intensity and depth into your words. And Uranus in your 7th house electrifies your partnerships, demanding new ways of connecting. Jupiter in your 9th house expands your faith, your study, and your vision. So the deeper lesson for you is this: enjoy the show of old friendship dramas if they appear, but don't mistake them for your future. Keep your finger on the pulse of your creative expression and your service to the collective. That is the string that you must hold. And from it, this moon becomes a thrilling step into authenticity. Enjoy the show, Libra Rising. Scorpio and Ophiuchus rising. I lump you guys together because this part of the sky is very difficult to draw a line right here to tell you that you're exactly Scorpio rising or that you're exactly Ophiuchus rising. Uh, in general, this energy is the same. It's more of a spectrum. So you might have your ascendant line here, right here in Scorpio at star Antares, or you might have your ascendant line closer to the galactic center. In either case, this reading is for you. You have Pluto in your second house. You have North Node, Saturn and Neptune in your fourth house. You have Moon and Chiron in your fifth house. You have Uranus in your seventh. You will have, or in your, actually, that's your sixth house. You will have Uranus in your sixth house. You will have Jupiter in your eighth. You actually might have Uranus in your seventh house too. So this is kind of like right here on the descendant. So sixth or seventh will work for Uranus. For Scorpio and Ophiuchus rising, Jupiter in your eighth house, Venus and Sun in your 10th, Venus and South Node in your 10th, and then Sun, Mercury, and Comet in your 11th, while Black Moon, Lilith, and Mars sit in your 12th house. So for you guys, this moon is going to light up the 5th and 11th houses, right? So we have the Sun in the 11th, Moon in the 5th. And Sun and Mercury in the 11th house bring energy to community, to friends, to collective dreams, while the Moon and Chiron over here highlights your creativity, joy, and the vulnerability of self-expression. The polarity is clean. You will be pulled between pouring yourself into personal pleasures and showing up for the group. Teaching is the balance. Your creativity and joy are needed, but they must be placed in service to the wider vision. Likewise, your friends and collectives must nourish, not overshadow, your individual spark. So now we have Venus with the South Node in your 10th house and Saturn and Neptune in your 4th house. So this is going to stir old career dramas and questions of recognition. Remember, this is your kite. Your kite is here. It's harder to draw with a free hand, but you can see it here. So you're going to be pulled towards energy in this space. Tempted to replay the roles you once played on the public stage, to slip back into the familiar show of ambition and visibility. Enjoy this nostalgia if it rises. Don't confuse it with your future, though. Like, let's say, for example, you retired from a very high-powered job and they call you and they invite you back. And perhaps it feels synchronous because you were thinking about it. And then they all of a sudden call you. You're like, okay, is the universe asking me to jump back into this? And I would say, no. I would say if it feels good, if it feels aligned to you, yes, but don't get entangled with it like you used to, right? Don't let it confuse you with where you're really going. The North Node and Saturn in Neptune in your 4th house are the strings in your hand. This is where you need to hold steady. So your growth lies in grounding into home, family, and private foundations. This is where your destiny anchors, in the roots, not the spotlight. So maybe you want to come back in a different capacity. Instead of being the front person, maybe you just sort of help around in the background. So when you hold that string, your creative joy and the collective work better together, and they both soar higher. So now you have Pluto in your 2nd house, transforming your resources and sense of worth, while Uranus on your descendant electrifies your relationships with sudden changes and new dynamics. Jupiter in your 8th house expands shared resources, intimacy, offering opportunities for deeper bonds, but also asking you to trust where you cannot control. Mars and Black Moon Lilith in your 12th house make solitude raw and charged, and your inner world may feel unsettled. But it's also where you receive signals and truths from beyond the visible. So the deeper lesson for you, Scorpio and Ophiuchus rising, is to enjoy the old show of career and recognition if it replays, but don't be pulled backwards. Keep your finger on the pulse of community, root yourself at home, and hold the string of shared vision steady. From there, this full moon becomes an exhilarating bridge between joy and collective destiny. Enjoy the show, Scorpio and Ophiuchus Rising. All right, Sagittarius Rising. Jupiter is your chart ruler. This full moon is going to affect you with the sun in your 10th house and the moon in your 4th house with Chiron. This is going to highlight your career, your visibility, your public responsibilities, while the moon with Chiron in your 4th is going to shine on home and family and private foundations. This polarity is very direct. You might feel pulled between tending to what anchors you and showing up in the public eye. The lesson here is balance. So you don't want to overground yourself only in family or home, but you also don't want to overextend yourself in your public roles either. When you hold on to both, your roots nourish your calling and your calling strengthens your roots. Now, for the kite energy for you, this is where you're going to be drawn in. It's going to feel almost karmic here in this energy. This is your nodal axis in your 9th and 3rd house with Black Moon Lilith in a sextile and Jupiter in a sextile. And then here is the grand trine. So here's your kite. So familiar dramas may replay like a show for you. This is energy around belief, philosophy, long distance travel. You'll be tempted to revisit outdated worldviews, perhaps educational paths. You might be asked to come to a school reunion, and it's going to feel safe, but it's not your future. The North Node with Saturn and Neptune in the 3rd house is the string of your kite. Growth comes from conversations, writing, local connections, and day-to-day learning. This is where destiny calls you, in the immediate exchange of ideas, in speaking truth simply, and in building wisdom from your own neighborhood and your own voice. Now, Pluto is in your 1st house. And this continues to transform your sense of identity, demanding authenticity at the deepest level. Uranus in your 5th house electrifies your creativity, energy around children, pleasure, stirring fresh and unexpected expressions of joy. Jupiter in your 7th expands your partnerships, bringing growth through connection, though sometimes with excess. Mars and Black Moon Lilith in your 11th energize your communities, but may stir raw truths in friendships or groups. So the deeper lesson for you, Sagittarius Rising, is going to be enjoy the show of old beliefs if they replay. Keep your finger on the pulse of real conversations and real concrete learning. If you hold the string of everyday wisdom, this full moon becomes not a conflict of home and career, but an exhilarating step into authentic voice and vision. Enjoy the show, Sagittarius Rising. Capricorn Rising. Saturn rules your ascendant and therefore rules your chart. So, Capricorn Rising, you have Pluto in your 12th house. You have North Node, Neptune, Saturn in your 2nd house. You have Chiron and Moon in your 3rd house. You have Uranus in your 4th house, Jupiter in your 6th house, Venus and the South Node are in your 8th house, Sun, Mercury, and the Comet are in your 9th house, and Black Moon, Lilith, and Mars are in your 10th house. So this axis of Sun and Moon, unaspected in any other capacity, stretches across the 3rd and the 9th house. So this side with the sun is going to spotlight faith, philosophy, education, and the big picture. While the moon down here is going to shine on communication, siblings, daily activities, and daily thinking. So this is your polarity. You might feel torn between attending to the chatter of everyday life and keeping your sight on the higher vision. The lesson is balance. Do not get overconsumed in the small details or dissolve into abstract ideals either. When you hold both the short and the long term, you discover a perspective that carries you forward with clarity. Now, the other interesting thing for you guys is that you will have South Node in Venus in your eighth house and North Node in your second house. So this is your kite. You have this sextile here, a trine here, and a grand trine here. So this nodal opposition for you is going to stir old patterns around intimacy, shared resources, debt. These themes will replay like a show you've seen before, tempting you to fall back into similar entanglements. So here is where someone sexy that you can't quit kind of pulls you back in by giving you an idea of how amazing it will be this time. And while you did have good times with that person, maybe maybe some parts of it made you smile, but this person definitely didn't help you to grow. So enjoy this recognition if it arises, the desire that's stirring. This could be around money or legacy issues also. Deal with it. Enjoy it, even laugh at it. Because the North Node with Saturn and Neptune in your second house is the string for this kite for you. So growth comes from building your own resources, clarifying your values, and learning to trust in your own self-worth. This is where your destiny is calling you to stand firmly in what you own and what you believe is worth building. Now, you have Pluto in your 12th. So this is churning in hidden places. It's about to cross your ascendant if you have a very early degree here in Capricorn. So this is going to transform your inner life and relationships with solitude if it hasn't already. Uranus in your fourth house is electrifying home and family, bringing sudden changes to your foundation. So on top of all these nostalgia moments, you're also dealing with disruptions at home. Jupiter in the sixth house expands your work, your health resources and routines, bringing opportunity, but also asking you to stay grounded in daily practices, while Black Moon, Lilith, and Mars in your 10th house energize your public role and career. This stirs raw truths about how you show up in the world. The deeper lesson for you is this. Enjoy the show of old intimacy stories if they replay, but keep your finger on the pulse of your own values and resources. Hold the string steady, and this full moon becomes not a conflict with details and ideals, but an exhilarating step toward authentic stability and vision. So enjoy the show, Capricorn. Aquarius rising. So your chart ruler, you can either identify with the traditional ruler of Saturn, or you can identify with Uranus as your chart ruler. In any case, the transits right now have Neptune, North Node, and Saturn in or around your first house. You have Moon and Chiron in your second house, Uranus in your third house, Jupiter in your fifth house, Venus and South Node in your seventh house, Sun, Mercury, and Comet in your eighth house, Black Moon, Lilith, and Mars in your ninth house, and Pluto in your 11th house. So Aquarius rising, this moon is going to light up your second and your 10th and your eighth house. So Sun, Mercury, and Comet here in the eighth house draws attention to intimacy and shared resources, especially the unseen bonds you hold with others. While the moon and Chiron in your second house highlights your own money, values, and self-worth. So the polarity here for you is you're going to feel caught between holding firmly to what is yours and surrendering to the deeper exchange of merging with others. And the teaching is balance. So you don't want to cling too tightly to possessions, and you don't want to dissolve completely into dependency either. When you hold both, you discover the true worth that cannot be taken from you. Now, for your kite with the North Node energy, the spine is here, the sextiles are here, and the grand trine is here. So you're going to feel stirred and pulled into seventh house energies, but you're going to be urged to pull back into first house energies. So partners, contracts, dynamics that once defined you may be playing back in your life like a familiar show. You'll be like, I've been here before. I thought I fixed this. The unseen bonds you You might feel nostalgic for them or even tempted to step back into the performance, but that's not your future. The North Node with Saturn in your first house is the string that you should hold. Growth lies in claiming your own presence, embodying your evolving identity, and stepping forward with clarity. So your path is not found in reenacting these old dynamics of partnership, but in standing firmly as yourself while you relate in new ways. Jupiter will expand joy, creativity, and energy around children, reminding you that play and inspiration are crucial to your growth. Uranus in your third house is electrifying your mind and daily conversations, bringing unexpected insights. And then Mars and Black Moon Lilith in your ninth charge your worldview, travel, or study of raw truth, sometimes uncomfortably so. And then Pluto in your 11th will transform friendships and community, shifting who you align with on a collective level. So the deeper lesson for you is this. Enjoy the show of old relationships and stories if they do appear for you, but keep your focus on embodying your true identity. Hold the string of your North Node firmly, and this full moon becomes an exhilarating passage into authenticity, creativity, and collective purpose. So, Aquarius Rising, enjoy the show. All right, Pisces Rising. Jupiter is your chart ruler if you're traditional, and Neptune is your chart ruler, and also on your ascendant if you are a modern chart ruler user. In any case, you have Moon and Chiron and in the first house. So here is one polarity for you on this side. Sun, Mercury, and Comet are in your seventh house. Then you have Uranus in your second, Jupiter in your fourth, Mars, Black Moon, Lilith in your eighth, Pluto in your 10th house, and then you have the nodes in your 12th and 6th house. So Venus and South Node are here in your 6th house, North Node and Saturn and Neptune are in your 12th house. So this dichotomy here between Sun and Moon places a spotlight on your body, your identity, and the way that you show up in the world. And the Sun, Mercury, Comet, this highlights partnerships, contracts, allies. So you're going to feel torn between focusing on yourself and tending to the needs of others. And the teaching is balanced. So you don't want to overground and self-focus to the point of isolation, but you also don't want to dissolve completely into partnership either. So when you hold both, your presence and your relationships, the ride of this full moon becomes illuminating rather than draining. Okay, then you have the nodal axis with this kite and the grand trine. Right here. So Venus in your sixth house will stir old stories of work, health, and daily habits. You might find yourself tempted to fall back into outdated routines, patterns of overservice, like working with people that you love again. So it might feel safe and nostalgic, but this is not where you want to go. The North Node, Saturn and Neptune in your 12th is the string of your kite. Okay. Your growth will lie in solitude, spiritual practice, and surrendering to what is unseen. So anchor yourself in dream work, meditation, or time away from the noise of daily life. This is where your destiny unfolds, even while the old dramas of work and health try to pull you back. Jupiter in your fourth expands your home and family life, offering opportunity and responsibility. Uranus in your second house will electrify your resources and values, demanding flexibility and innovation. Mars and Black Moon Lilith over here in your eighth house stir raw truths in intimacy and shared resources, sometimes surfacing the shadows that you would rather avoid. Pluto in your 10th continues to transform your career and public role, breaking down what is false and elevating what is authentic. And so the deeper lesson for you, Pisces Rising, is to enjoy the old show of daily habits if it plays out, old coworkers, but don't be swept into the romance of it. Keep your finger on the pulse of your spiritual growth and collective field that supports you. This is the string that steadies you. And from there, this full moon becomes an exhilarating passage into wholeness. So enjoy the show, Pisces Rising. Aries Rising. So for you, Aries, the moon stretches across to the sun in the area of the 12th and the 6th houses. So you have Sun and Mercury in your 6th, or you have Sun, Mercury, Comet, and Mars in your 6th house. Actually, no, Mars is in your 7th house. Mars is in the 7th, but Sun, Mercury, and Comet are in your 6th house. And Moon and Chiron are in your 12th house, in the space of hidden dreams and your undoing. So the temptation is to overground, to pour all of your energy into fixing, working, or analyzing, while ignoring the need for silence, healing, and stillness. So the moon here is going to ask you to pause, while the sun asks you to refine. The teaching is balance. You want to hold both clarity and surrender, so you are not consumed by either. Now we have to look at your nodal axis, Aries rising. So you have the North Node, Saturn and Neptune in the 11th, across from Venus and South Node in the 5th, and their kite is here. Drawing free-handedly. So here's where your show is. It's right here in the 5th house. Stirring your creative and romantic spaces, old love, old performance, old play. These dramas are going to feel familiar, nostalgic, even sexy. They are the show playing on your screen right now. And the kite points you towards them, but that's not your destiny. The string over here in your community sphere, where the North Node with Saturn and Neptune, they remind you that real growth is found in collective energies. So participate in your friendships, share your visions, invest in the future you're building together. Enjoy the show if it comes up, but don't lose your grip on the thread of purpose. Mars with the comet in your daily sphere adds a cosmic wild card. Your body and your routines are antennas for energy that are larger than you, and you may notice disruptions or hidden signals. Uranus over here in your 1st house invites you to experiment with how you show up, while Pluto in your 4th house, in the root of your soul, calls for a quiet clearing of old foundations. And the larger lesson for Aries rising is simple but profound. Balance the work and the rest. Witness the drama without being consumed, and keep your finger on the pulse of collective currents. Hold the string steady, for this full moon becomes not a trap, but an exhilarating ride. Enjoy the show, Aries rising. Taurus rising. This is my rising sign. So for us guys, we have Jupiter in the 2nd. We have Venus and the South Node in the 4th house. We have Sun, Mercury, and Comet in the 5th house. We have Mars and Black Moon Lilith in the 6th. We have Pluto in our 8th. We have Saturn, Neptune, and the North Node in our 10th. And we have Moon Chiron in the 11th and Uranus in the 12th. So this moon stretches from the 11th house to the 5th house. The axis of creativity and collective expression. So Sun, Mercury, and the comet shine on creativity, children, play, self-expression, while the moon is a vulnerability that's being exposed in friendships, communities, and collective vision. The lesson is balance. We cannot only pour our energy into our personal projects and pleasures, nor can we dissolve into the collective and lose ourselves. When we hold both joy and responsibility, self-expression with shared vision, the ride of this moon becomes exhilarating rather than draining. So now we look at the nodal axis for you, Taurus rising, and we see that the kite plays out like this. So what you will be drawn back into will be this side of your chart, and what you should hold on to is on this side of your chart. Venus with the South Node sitting in our 4th house of home and family brings up old dramas, ancestral stories, or patterns from childhood, and they may tug at us. They may feel familiar. even nostalgic, like a show playing on the screen. We might laugh, we might cry, we might remember, but we must not mistake this for where we are headed. Across the sky, the North Node with Saturn and Neptune in our 10th house is the string in our hands. Our destiny is not in replaying the past, but in shaping the future, in stepping into public roles and offering our vision to the world. So the invitation is to enjoy the old dramas and the old shows that show up, but keep our pulse on the collective currents calling us forward. Mars and Black Moon Lilith in our 6th house make our bodies and daily work routines raw and sensitive. We must listen closely. If exhaustion, irritation, or unexpected disruptions appear, these are signals rather than punishments. Pluto in our 8th house is already stirring deep transformation and shared resources, intimacy, while Uranus in our 12th electrifies the unseen, dreams, intuitions, and whispers of the soul. All of this reminds us that we are not isolated individuals, but part of a larger cosmic story. So the heart of this full moon for us Taurus rising is very simple. We should balance joy with creation, witness the family dramas without being pulled back, and hold tightly to the string of our collective purpose. Because from there, this lunation becomes a thrilling ride into the future that we were meant to build. Enjoy the ride, Taurus rising. Okay, Gemini rising. Mercury is your chart ruler. The moon will be in your 10th house and the sun in your 4th house. So then you have Jupiter in your 4th. You will have Venus and South Node in your 3rd, Mars and Black Moon Lilith in your 5th house, Pluto in your 7th house, North Node Saturn and Neptune in your 9th house, Moon and Chiron in the 10th, and Uranus in the 11th. So Sun, Mercury, and the comet light up your private world, home, and roots, while the Moon and Chiron shine at the top of your chart, illuminating your public role. This is a sharp polarity here. It's like the hidden is in the public and the expression is in the private. So Sun, Mercury, and Comet light up that private world of home and roots, and the moon shines at the top of your chart. You may be torn between tending to your inner foundation and showing up for the world. This teaching is not to choose one or the other, but to hold on to both. Refine your home, fix it so that it supports your public path, and then tend to your public calling so that it honors your private truth. Then when we look at your nodal axis, we have a 3rd and a 9th house axis. And your kite spans like this. So this is your kite here. And this is where you'll be pulled towards the 3rd house energy. So stirring up old communication patterns, conversations, sibling dynamics, mental scripts that you replay over and over and over like a familiar show. And so you will be tempted to over-explain, to gossip even, or to slip back into chatter that once defined you. So don't be upset with this. Give yourself a break. If you notice this, smile at it, but don't mistake it for destiny. The North Node and Saturn and Neptune in the 9th is the string in your hand, and your growth lies in wisdom, vision, study, and truth. So rather than scattering your voice, channel it into something meaningful. Pluto in your 7th house is going to continue to transform your relationships, exposing deep truths about intimacy and power dynamics. Mars and Black Moon Lilith in your 5th house energize creativity and pleasure, although they may stir raw emotions around love, sex, or children. Uranus in your 11th house shakes up your communities, showing you that your role among friends and networks is evolving very quickly. The deeper lesson for you is this: enjoy the old show of familiar chatter, but don't get pulled back in. If you hold your string of vision and faith, this full moon carries you into a thrilling alignment of home, purpose, and collective calling. Enjoy the show, Gemini Rising. Cancer Rising. Your chart is ruled by the moon, and your placements have Moon in your 9th house Sun in your third house. The nodal axis starts with south node in your second and north node in your eighth. So you have Sun, Mercury, and Comet in your third. You have Venus and South Node in your second. You have Mars, Black Moon, Lilith in your fourth house. Pluto in your sixth. North Node, Saturn, and Neptune in your eighth house. Moon and Chiron in the ninth. Uranus in the 10th. And Jupiter in the 12th. So this full moon is going to light up these houses here. Sun, Mercury, and the Comet highlight your third house of communication, siblings, and day-to-day thinking. While the moon with Chiron shines in your ninth house of faith, philosophy, and longer journeys and visions. You're going to feel caught between the chatter of daily life and the pull towards something of greater meaning. And so the balance is the lesson here. You don't want to overground yourself in the small details of every conversation, but you also don't want to abandon them. When you hold the short-term and the long-term view together, you begin to see the fuller pattern. Now, with Venus in your south node, in your second house, and the north node and these outer planets in your eighth house, your kite looks like this. Might look a little bit more symmetric if I were to not draw it freehand, but you can see where this energy flows. So you have the second house energy with the south node and Venus stirring up old patterns around money, possessions, and self-worth. And you're going to notice familiar dramas with spending, earning, or clinging to things that once defined you. These are going to make you feel really comfortable and like a show that you've seen before. But it's not your future, okay? The north node with Saturn and Neptune in your eighth is the string in your hand. True growth for you comes from the shared resources, from intimacy and being vulnerable, and from trust, and from learning to merge energy wisely. So release what belongs to the past and anchor yourself in building trust and transformation with others. Pluto there in your sixth house continues to break down and rebuild your work and health routines, forcing you to confront what is no longer sustainable. Mars and Black Moon Lilith in that fourth house stir raw energy around home and family, asking you for honesty and for courage. Uranus in your 10th shakes up your career, pushing you into new roles or unexpected shifts in visibility. Jupiter in your 12th house expands the unseen, reminding you that spiritual practice, dreams, and solitude are essential to your growth. So the deeper vision for you is simple. Enjoy the familiar show of old patterns around money or family, but don't be pulled back in. Keep your focus on the collective pulse of transformation and shared resources and partnerships. That is where the full moon wants to carry you, Cancer Rising. So enjoy the show, Cancer Rising. All right, Leo Rising. This chart is ruled by the sun. And you are going to have the sun in your second house and the moon in your eighth house. So Sun, Mercury, and Comet light up that second house of values, possessions, and self-worth, while the moon and Chiron illuminate that eighth house, intimacy, shared resources, and transformation. You're going to feel a tension between holding what is yours and opening up to what is shared. And the teaching is balance here. You don't want to overground yourself in protecting everything that you have, but you also don't want to dissolve entirely into others' needs either. This lunation is asking you to refine how you give and receive and how you claim your worth while also trusting in deeper bonds. Now, your kite looks like this. You've got a first and seventh house kite where the sextiles almost flow you right into the energy of the past, while the string that you need to hold on to is here in the future. So old patterns around identity and the ways that you perform. You're going to feel like you need to shine, to act, or to seek validation in ways that once worked. This is the show that you will enjoy. Enjoy it if it comes, but don't confuse it with who you are becoming. The North Node with Saturn and Neptune in your seventh house is a string in your hand. So your true growth lies in your partnerships, not only the romantic ones, but also business, contracts, and allies. This is where accountability and shared vision will move you forward. So hold that thread, and your identity will evolve with greater clarity than with regression. Pluto in your fifth is transforming your creativity, your pleasure, and how you seek joy, while Mars and Black Moon Lilith in your third house energize conversations, learning, and sibling or local dynamics. This will sometimes stir up raw truths that you weren't ready to hear. Uranus in your ninth house electrifies your worldview, faith, and long term vision, while Jupiter in your 11th expands friendships and collective dreams. The deeper lesson for you is this: enjoy the old show, but keep your finger on the pulse of partnerships and shared purpose. If you hold the string here, the full moon becomes not a conflict over resources, but an exhilarating step towards deeper bonds and collective vision. Enjoy the show, Leo Rising. All right, friends, that includes the individual readings by rising sign. All right, guys, thank you so much for your time and attention. If you're still here at the end, I really appreciate you. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video and you like the content. Join a channel membership if you're so inclined. If not, just subscribe to the channel. That way more people can find this amazing work. And I look forward to working with you all in the future. Thanks so much. Bye, friends.